Welcome to the explainer video of the New York scarf. Thank you for making it. So in order for us to get started, we're going to look at that starting chain. I did have a lot of my contrast color left over, so we're going to use that. I'm going to do a slip knot, and I am going to chain the appropriate number. If you want to make the New York scarf longer, you would just add more stitches in that gray area, which I call the bridge affectionately. In this first part, we're going to show you how to work into that back loop. So I'm going to skip the first one right off of my chain, or right off my hook. I'm going to skip that first one right off of my hook, and instead of looking at the V's, I'm flipping it over and I'm looking at these back bumps here. So I'm going to skip the first one and go into the second one. So the pattern, if you're doing the full version with the covered back, you're going to do a half double crochet here. If you are just doing the front color work part, you are going to do a normal single crochet in there. I'm going to do the half double crochet because the pattern assumes you're going to do the whole thing. And then you just keep on working into these back bumps. The reason why we're working in this back bump and not into the V's is because if we, so this is the side that we just worked on, if we flip it over, we still have the V's. If you can see there. So we have these big fluffy ones that we've been doing the half double crochets, and these are the bottom ones from our chain that we started. This is going to make it much easier for us to seam the edges together, and if you are newer to crochet, you can actually use these V's to work into for another section of a garment or a sweater or an accessory. So I very much enjoy, even if a pattern doesn't call for it, doing this or a foundation chain just to make my life easier down the line. So this last one is always a little bit difficult because you have that knot, but you can still see that bump and work into it. There we go. You'll do a few more of these, but it's nice and easy and it looks much neater and clean compared to working into the V's. All right, let's say we want to change colors now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next color. I'm going to do a slip knot. Here, I already started doing a single crochet row and then another one here. So how do I do this? I yarn over and I pull through here. So I haven't finished the single crochet. I'm going to hold the white yarn behind with my index finger here. So it's here. So I have some tension. I'm going to take that slip knot that I just did, lay it over the hook, and I'm going to tighten that loop a little bit, like that. And I'm going to take the long end of the tail, wrap it around my pinky. That's just how I like to hold it. You can hold it however you usually do, and I'm just going to pull it through those two. Now I'm going to pull the white to make this a little bit tighter. And then I'm going to continue to hold that white behind here. So what that does is that single crochet has a little white cover here, and it's the bottom here is still white, but your next color that you're going to work with is red. So I'm going to go into the next single crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and I have an entirely white one right here. So I'm going to do that again for as many stitches as it calls for. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and that knot is just going to be less and less noticeable as we go on. So in order to carry in the back, you want to have some stitches like this where you are actively keeping what you want to tuck in behind. So the short end of the yarn that you just added and the long of the other color that you're using, you yarn over your active yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That makes it tight. When you want to do floats, you don't have that yarn going over your needle or your hook. Yarn over, pull through. I'm going to do another one. Yarn over, pull through. And now to reattach it, I'm just going to grab this yarn that's left behind at the bottom, at the back a little bit, yarn over, just like before, pull through, including those, pull through. So what you see here is instead of it being behind each of the stitches, it's floating right here. Why do I like to do that? It helps with the drape of the item, so it becomes less stiff, and you're going to hide that with the back panel anyway. Let's say I want to switch back to the white. So I'm going to, one stitch before I want to switch, I will yarn over, pull through the color that I'm working with. I'm going to hold it with tension with my right hand, and I'm going to find the yarn that I do want to work with and do the second yarn over, pull through with that, and I'm going to pull the white taut for the tension. After I do a stitch like that, I like to do a yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, where I will hold those stitches in place here, and then I will start to float. If it's the end, like we are here, I will not hold the yarn in the back for the duration of it. I will just keep going because I know I won't need it. This is where looking at the chart is helpful, because if the color's not going to poke out in one of these, I would just leave it on the end. If it's going to be longer by 2 stitches, I would carry it over 2 stitches. So chain 1. How do I use the yarn now that I'm looking the wrong way? So I'm going to go until I need my yarn. And let's say it's just going to be a straight line up. So I'm just going to kind of carry it up, yarn over, pull through. I'm going to bring this because we're carrying the yarn in the back. So if I bring it to the front, it's going to be ugly, right? Okay, and then I keep the red that I'm switching to. I yarn over and I pull through. And then it's usually easier for me not to carry the yarn here, and then I'll do it on the following one. So it's over my hook, get through. So it's being held right here. This is a float, and the front looks nice and neat like that. So I'm going to do a little float here. I personally like to go up to 4, but you'll get a feel for it as you go. Yarn over, pull through. I want the white, so I'm going to make sure that I hide my little tail in the red, and then I pull through here. What this does is this stitch that overlaps this one is going to be a white stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and then just to secure it, I'll go to the next one if I know the red yarn is going to poke out. So this is how it looks in the front, and you hide the mess in the back. When you want to finish using a yarn, you would just cut it for a bit and carry it like we carried this tail, floating behind your main color. All right, I added a few more rows of random stitches just so that we could get to a point where I can fold this over. So in order to seam it and fold like this one is, have a front and a back, we're going to use so the right side is in, the pretty side is inside. Make sure I don't lose my loop here. So I'm going to fold it to hide it. And then I'm going to take this loop that's facing me on the side that's facing me, and the side, the first one's always difficult. There we go. The loop, so it would be this one, the one farthest from you. Yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to do a little slip stitch. So we're not going to yarn over again, we're just going to slip into that. So again, I'm going to go from bottom to top here, the front one, and all the way the furthest one on the back. Yarn over, pull through, slip stitch. And I want to keep these nice and loose. I don't want it to be too tight. So I'm going to, closest one toward me, the one furthest away from me, yarn over, pull through, and then, oops, that happens because you want to keep it nice and loose. Pull through and then slip stitch, and then you're going to keep going for the whole length of the scarf. So I'm going to speed this up. So this last one is a little messy. I don't particularly care what it ends up being. I might just go under both loops. Like that. So I want to have done it loosely so that I can pull if necessary. This is thicker just because I have a little bit of extra yarn here. I'm then going to continue around this edge right here. Yarn over, pull through, slip. And this doesn't really have a specific rhyme, reason, or method. I'm just trying to unite two portions. Since I did random stitches, they're not going to be symmetrical in your scarf. Much easier. I have random double crochets and things here. And then my last one here, I yarn over, pull through to make that little knot. And then I'm gonna cut it. I'm not gonna bother weaving these in because I'm gonna turn the little tube inside out so that the scarf, or in this case, my little demo sample, is right side out. So this is what the little bind looks like. Here, it's a little wonky, but it'll even out when you block it. And this is your little tube, or your big tube. So you're going to go and you can take a hook and do the same exact thing with this tail that we have here to finish it off. Or you can take a needle, so this one is going to look nicer because this one is folded in, to close it and then hide in the little end. Congratulations! You've got your New York scarf.